The following video is for educational purposes only. Do not attempt to replicate any of the stories or betting strategies discussed in this video. If you have or know someone with a gambling addiction, please seek help immediately. Okay, so today we have another gambling addiction story that I want to read and react to. Now this one was posted by I Am an Addict of Myself about a year ago on Reddit, and I titled it $50,000 in Debt. So let's get to the story. I am 23 currently. I started gambling when I was about 20. Although I had a phase of buying lottery tickets when I was 18, but nothing really came out of that, and it only lasted about a month. I started off with a win and loss at a casino in the same day. I wanted to earn that back and decided to play online. At the time, I didn't know that casinos were an option online. This is when the addiction took off. Through the years, my betting sizes increased significantly. As an addict, the rush at a certain level is only so good until it's not. It got to a point where I couldn't even cash out any winnings. I would always lose any profit. I've had clean periods of up to 100 days almost, but I ended up relapsing. Even when you do win, it is an insidious cycle. You never spend the money on yourself. It always gets fed back in. Oh man, so first off, this guy is really young as he's only 23. But there was one important part here where he said that throughout the years, my betting sizes increased significantly, and the rush at a certain level is only so good until it's not. Now this is incredibly important because this is a phenomenon that happens pretty much to all gamblers or all addicts, is that the stake that you're currently playing, you get this dopamine hit, you get this rush, you get this excitement because it's new. But slowly but surely over time, the novelty of that amount that you're betting, it slowly wears off. And then you have this inclination to want to raise up in stakes or bet more money because then you get that rush that you were getting previously and you end up chasing that feeling. So for example, whenever you're playing, let's say blackjack, and you're betting $25 a hand, in the beginning, it feels like a lot of money, but over time, you become sort of desensitized to that. And then all of a sudden, maybe betting $50 a hand or $100 a hand becomes that much more exciting. But then the same cycle and pattern sort of persists. And it's that eventually that $50 bet or that $100 bet will eventually feel the exact same as the $25 bet. And you don't really feel that excitement anymore, and it becomes dull and boring. And that's why you just want to keep going up in stakes. I ended up in a real shit financial situation because of this. Mood swings, lying about where my money has gone. You get to a point where you are so deep in the hole that you don't even recognize the person you once were. If I hadn't got into this addiction, I would have had a house by now. When I first started gambling, I had almost $20,000 saved. However, that is not the case. You continue to believe that you can get out of the tough spot you're in by gambling and making money, but the cycle is the same. No matter if you win or lose, it will always be fed back in. Okay, so this part is interesting because there is this emotional connection that people have with their money, especially when it comes to gambling. Now you have to realize that whatever money you've lost is gone, and that's not your money anymore. And far too often, gamblers and especially gambling addicts make this mistake of thinking about their losses, tracking their losses, or thinking how much money they lost in total that they could have used or bought in the current day. And this is when people usually get trapped by chasing their losses, as they want to win back that money that they think is theirs. Now, the way that I sort of got out of this trap is that, say for example, you go to like a coffee shop or Starbucks, and you spend $5 on a coffee. You are trading that $5 for a service, essentially. And so you don't think about like, oh, I lost $5 to Starbucks, and if I didn't buy all those coffees, I could have bought so many things in my real life. Whereas in gambling, it's the same thing. You're paying for a service. If you're betting $5, $10, $20 at the blackjack table, roulette table, poker table, whatever it is, that money is gone. You used it, you paid for a service, you paid to play a game, and it's over. You don't have this connection to it anymore. But unfortunately for human beings, it's so hard for us to just let go of that. Now, I am in about 50K of debt, about 8K from a car, 4.2K left from college loans, the rest is gambling. I have all my payments coming out of my payday, so at least they get paid on time. I have to work a side job doing pizzas for the next 3 to 4 years until these are paid. Pretty much my entire paycheck from my main job pays off debt, and I live off the money I earn on the side. If I didn't have these debts, I could be saving about $2,500 a month working these 2 jobs. It is crazy how you think you have hit rock bottom, but there is always a new layer below. This addiction is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I do not have credit cards anymore. I was lucky to keep an emergency savings in case something happens with myself, or if my car breaks down. So his $50K of debt is not entirely just from gambling. He said $8K was from his car and about $4K was from college loans. Now this is where having a gambling addiction can be incredibly devastating for your future. As in this story, he's talking about how now he has to work a second job on the side, I'm assuming making pizzas or delivering pizzas, for the next 3 to 4 years, just so that he can have some money to live while paying off all this massive debt. Now there is one good decision that he made here, and it was automating his money so that his bills get paid on time. And it sounds like his day job pretty much just goes towards all of his debt. And this is something that you really want to do if you're stuck and you're in the hole, because this way the debt will automatically get paid off without you having to take action or make decisions. And this way you can hopefully make a plan and get back to even. And another 2 good things that this guy did was not having any more credit cards and having an emergency fund. Now, whenever you get into personal finance or money in general, if you don't know how to use a credit card responsibly, you're better off not having one, as interest rates can be killer if you're unable to pay off the entire balance. But having an emergency fund is incredibly important, as your car could break down, a family member could get sick, you could get injured, who knows? There's like a million unknowns in life where you might have these unexpected expenses coming up in your not so distant future. I am only coming up on 2 weeks, but I know I cannot place a bet because the whole cycle starts over. I am thankful to have learned a lesson at this age, rather than still be in it when I'm in my 40s or 50s. Okay, so there was a lot of great takeaways from this gambling addiction story. Now, the one thing that was missing was how he sort of lost the money gambling, as he didn't really mention the type of game that he was playing. But it did sound like that he got into online gambling, which of course nowadays on your phone is just way too accessible. So the other things that we can learn from the story is that this guy, he actually had a lot of foresight considering his situation. He did manage to have an emergency fund even while having this crazy gambling addiction. And there were a lot of positives that we could take away from his story and apply to someone who is struggling in their own situation. As for example, removing all access to credit cards is a great decision, especially if you are struggling to manage your money or you have some type of crazy gambling addiction. And then the second was just getting another job to pay off your debt, or do what he did. He used his main job where he automated all his money towards his bills. So they were just always automatically, the money was being sent there, it was getting paid down, and he didn't have to worry about it. And then also after work, he could get a second job, right? And then he could use that money to survive, maybe, pay his rent, buy his food, or whatever it is. Now, the reason why I like to read and react to these gambling addiction stories is that there is always this little nugget of wisdom or silver lining that we can take away from someone's experience, and then maybe learn from their mistakes and make sure that we don't do the same. And so hopefully this gambling addiction story helped you out in some way. If it did, please let me know in the comment section down below, as I always love hearing feedback from you guys. And also, if you are someone that is seriously struggling with a gambling addiction, and the resources below, like the Gambling Hotline or website support, if those things aren't helping you and you need something a little bit more personal and one-on-one, I have started a one-on-one gambling addiction sort of service, like a one-on-one coaching service for those of you who really need that more intimate one-on-one support. So I have that option available on one of my websites down below in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully the information in this video helped you out in some way. And if you want to watch another gambling addiction story, you can watch that right here.